To you from underneath a peach blossom, it's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work, just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Hello, BeAuSm listeners, followers, people that like the Facebook page and everything else we do on social media. I'm your host, Joshua Peach, and we are here for another episode in the ECAT podcast studio in Easton, Massachusetts. And this is a podcast probably close to 3 years in the making. For those of you that have listened to the podcast when the COVID quarantine happened in 2020, in March of 2020, I was sidelined from my day job of traveling and doing keynotes, and started doing work with the local Chamber of Commerce, which I've become a board member of since. And one of the things that I offered, because everybody was hurting at the time, was I offered to any Easton business, basically anybody in Easton that wanted to share a story that was happy, upbeat, and wanted to talk about the business that they do and promote them, they were welcome to come on. And my guest today, and I'm going to call you Auntie Zaza, right? That's what we're going to go by. That's all right. Good. So my guest today, Auntie Zaza, was on one of the webinars that we had for the chamber, and she had a 6 foot tall knitting needle behind her in the camera, and which I had to ask questions about. And after the fact, Auntie Zaza said, "I'd love to be on the podcast." And for 3 years, we've had challenges with scheduling. I got back on the road, and finally, we are here. Well waited for, excited to have you on. We're going to learn a whole lot about you and what you do and downtown. We'll talk about a whole bunch of things. But first and foremost, Auntie Zaza, thank you for coming in and making some time with us.
Thank you so much, Josh. I've been looking forward to getting to be with you for
You're the first
sometime.
First guest that brought in a pad of notes. This is fantastic. Like I got got a whole list of things that I could go off of here. But no, this is great. So first, what is Auntie Zaza's as a business is in town? What is it? How did it come about? What do you do? And then we can talk more about it.
Auntie Zaza's Fiberworks and Yarn Shop is a specialty yarn shop. It's right next door to Farmer's Daughter, across the street from the old grammar school. And we specialize in, obviously, selling specialty yarns to knitters and crocheters and weavers, needle felters, and I just call it in general fiber enthusiasts. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, we offer educational programs. They're weekly classes, workshops, special events, and a number of activities that happen throughout the year that we get excited about, like the Greater Boston Yarn Crawl and
the Greater Boston Yarn Crawl.
The South Shore Yarn Hall. So we like yarn, and we have this ritual of jumping from shop to shop, kind of like a pub crawl. You get your little passport, you go shop to shop, and see how many places you can visit. So different fun things for our crew.
So how many yarn shops are there in Massachusetts?
Well, that's a tricky question.
Are there a lot of them? Specialty like yours. You can get yarn at Michael's, right? But it's not.
Yeah, that's not the same thing. So how many are there? Probably like 30 going south down to the Cape. Mm-hmm. And similarly, kind of from Boston going up to the North Shore, about 30. And then kind of looking at the 495 loop, there's a smaller number on that outside loop. So,
is there a yarn association that you guys all get together and other than yarn crawls?
Probably, but I don't know about it. I'm kind of busy.
You're not a member yet. Yeah.
Just kind of doing my thing. It ends up being busy.
So how long have you had Auntie Zaza's? I've known it's on Main Street. It's been there for a long time, but I couldn't tell.
We just celebrated 10 years. So 2012 was our opening in December. Like, why do you open a store in December?
Yeah.
But
Christmas.
There we roll. Yeah. Catching the wave of the holiday festival and my birthday.
Yeah.
So there we had it.
Yeah. Well, you, and we'll talk about downtown, but I believe you were there before Farmer's Daughter and La Cucina and all of that stuff. I mean, you were kind of one of the founding businesses of the revitalization of Main Street.
Yeah, there was a lot going on behind the scenes. So I feel like I was on that first wave of the coming together of the intention that the cultural district had, where many people in the community were coming together with the intention of bringing the arts specifically to that little stretch of Main Street and inclusive of Oaks Ames and the library. And so those very early meetings I was part of. And I was also part of the very first meetings of the Shoveltown Cultural District, or the Shoveltown Artist Coalition. And there were about 12 of us sitting together, visioning like, wow, how can we bring more arts to this area? And during those early meetings, I started percolating with this idea. All my life, I wanted to own a yarn shop.
Were you knitting at an early age? And
as a teenager, I started knitting, and I'm knitting right now.
I was going to say, you'll most likely be the only guest I ever have that is actually knitting while this podcast is going on. So if you're watching this, she's actively knitting. If you're not watching it, just envision actively knitting.
Here it is.
That's good. What are you making?
A little hat.
Yeah. And how long will that take you to make?
A couple hours.
You're going to make a little hat in a couple hours. And you just
makes me happy.
That is cool. Like you're not even looking.
I don't have to look.
And did you do a measurement, or did you just start and figure the feel? And
yeah, I know my tools, I know my yarn, so grab the right size tool, know the number of stitches. It's very mathematical. They're 4 stitches per inch or 5 per inch, depending on what size garment I'm making, what yarn I'm using.
Do you already have someone a taker for that hat, or is that just you're going to put it in your store? And
just put it in the store. I try to have a little bit of inventory, but it takes a long time to.
Yeah.
It's it's not like going to, I don't know, Target and getting a winter hat, right? It's a little slower process than that.
My grandmother, growing up, my dad's mom knit, and that was our Christmas like every year. And she had tags that said "knit by Nana Peach," and she'd make socks and sweaters and all this stuff. And you're like, oh man, she's making another thing. And now, she's passed away a number of years ago, and we get these cold winters, and we're like, man, we wish we had one of those, because the sweaters are like unbelievably warm, and the socks too. But I never really asked her how long it took to make that stuff, because she just did what you do. She'd just sit on the couch and just knit away, and never took a measurement, but everything always fit, which was amazing to me. So, so 10 years. So you've worked before this. You always wanted to have a yarn store. You were getting involved with the arts of the town before you started your store. Was it this revitalization and this getting together that caused it, or did you say?
Yeah, the calling, I guess, and several invitations that kind of aligning the energies of let's come together, let's make something happen. So through the invitations, I showed up, and I'd say opening the shop is my version of let's make a difference in the community. Let's see, what talents do you have, and what are you willing to do, and can you show up? And then now is the time. Yeah. And it's a little like skydiving at first, where you just get on this airplane with a little dippy backpack, little flap of fabric and some string, and you jump out. Yeah. Like, okay, now what do we do? Yeah. Because I'm not a business minded person per se, but I've learned a lot in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, you just got in and dug in. That's awesome.
I just did it. Yeah, make it happen.
And I have to imagine you probably get some foot traffic, especially like during the holiday festival and things, but your store is probably, a following based where people kind of sought you out. Yeah. They had 30 choices in the area to choose from.
Oh, yeah.
They saw you out, they came in, and they're like...
Well, they come from like Connecticut. they'll do a day trip from
Really?
Southern Rhode Island, from New Hampshire. Yeah.
Okay.
So it just brings its own little crowd. And, people will say, oh, you should have, little trinkets and doodads and gift cards and coffee mugs. And my mind says, no, we just want yarn.
Yes.
Which maybe I could get some little things to buy, but it's really about those fiber enthusiasts who are seeking that experience of the senses, because you can't get it online. My little thing's flapping.
Yeah.
That experience of the color, the texture, even the smell of some of the yarn, that people just really have the sensory experience, and then that inspires them to get creative and to go in some direction.
What's the furthest somebody's traveled to come to Easton to get yarn? This is
furthest.
Do you ask everybody when they come in, like, hey, where are you coming from?
No, but I've had people from Texas and people from California.
With the intention was to come to your store to...
Well, they had heard about it, and then they were driving by to go to the Cape, and they come off and come see me. So that was fun.
That is...
Twice. Florida, people, pretty regulars from Florida who do snowbirding up here when they're up in the area, or people who visit their kids from New York, and then... they'll just come and...
Do you ship?
Do their shopping. We are just about to.
So you're going to start shipping. So someone comes here from California, they see some stuff, and they go, man, I wish I bought this.
Yeah.
And
so we're actually so very close to launching our website, which is like, oh, now we're going to grow the business into yet another business. But part of... when the pandemic hit, it would have been really great if I had that collected, but I wasn't quite there. And then obviously the pandemic kind of put the brakes on that that end. But I don't know. I'd like to say within the month.
So you're getting a new website, because you do have a website. I look.
Yep. But this will afford the consumer the opportunity to purchase online for everything that is in the store.
Yeah, I got to tell you, you're one of the first businesses that I saw that was really kind of a cool thing, which was you have a community section, and I hope you're going to have it on your new website, which you share all of the local other businesses in the area, promoting them.
Yeah.
Like, we all talk about doing it, but many of us forget about it. I try to do it as much as possible, and I know I fail sometimes, but you had made a conscious effort to put that, right out there. Yeah,
I play a game that, is it possible, every time a customer is in there who is maybe waiting to be seated at Farmer's Daughter, that'll tell them about all the businesses in the area.
Yeah.
So they'll come sort of looking, oh, this is yarn. It's not granola bars and it's not computers.
Yeah.
Which the Fiberworks kind of throws people sometimes, but I just send them around the corner to Paint Rust and Pixie Dust, or to Dahlia's, which is new, really sweet little hostess shop and flower shop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We just had their ribbon cutting. They just celebrated their first year. I missed it.
Yeah.
But the chamber was there last week.
They gave us the most beautiful bouquet of flowers too. That was just appreciated by all of our customers.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really sweet. Yeah. It's a connection in the community, because if all of us are successful, then we're all going to be successful.
Well, rising tide floats all ships.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I think Bill's House of Pizza is the longest standing business on Main Street, right? They've been there forever. But you've got your slogan, more than a yarn shop or community, and just this is also an episode where you and I spoke on a webinar set up for the chamber 3 years ago. We've had a couple of emails, but the first time that we've actually seen each other or spoken was about 4 minutes before we kind of went live recording here. So just your energy and just listening to you and just kind of your passion, you're all about community, and rising tide floats all ships, and just kind of a really a neat. I feel like I could go into your store, even though I'm never going to be knitting or really understand the smell or look or color of different yarns, and just have a lot of fun with you. Where does that come from?
I don't know, my true, authentic self.
Yeah, but I mean, have you always been like that? Have you always been someone that just, just spreads the love like to everyone that you possibly can? And
yeah, my kids say that I talk to everyone a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose I'm always like that.
Yeah, my kid, my oldest probably does under his, so I don't hear it. Like, be quiet, Dad. But my youngest hasn't gotten there yet. But
So embarrassing.
yeah, don't embarrass me. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, well, so one of my missions at the yarn shop is to create a relaxed, homey atmosphere. And people come up on the porch and they literally knock on the door like they're coming into a house. And my mind says, maybe this isn't, the best for business of this setup, but it's literally like you're walking into a little home.
Yeah.
And
I thought you lived there.
A lot of people think I live there. Probably would be a smart business move if I owned business. Okay. But the Danish word hygge is very interesting to me because I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Hygge is hot chocolate with cozy slippers sitting by the fireplace.
Yeah.
With the glow of a candle. And that's hygge. So I like to create hygge because hygge feels good when it's just cozy. Yeah. So it's an interesting, I don't know, what is it? A mission in a yarn shop to create cozy.
Yeah.
And when you walk in, it's cozy and people feel welcomed. That's what we try to go for. We're not very fast. It's not like Dunkin' Donuts with 2-minute service.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, we all need to do things for the money, but it doesn't appear to me that you're doing this.
No, because you can get sweaters at TJ Maxx for $7 on sale. Yeah. Or you can spend $120 for supplies.
To make one.
Yeah. And it will take you about 60 hours.
Yeah. So and what's the audience? Because you said you started when you were a teen, and what the funny thing is, like when I think about it, and it's not to like stereotype or anything, but when I think of knitting, I think of my grandmother, right? Mm-hmm. That's just embroidery. My mother's mother was an embroiderer. She did the linens with the stitching. Yes, and amazing stuff. But obviously I didn't know when they were younger. So is it a nice healthy mix, or is this a
It's a nice healthy mix. So we have a youth program there. My youngest student was 3.
Yeah.
Little ones are usually around 5 or 6 when they start, and I have classes where the youngest student might be about 8, and then the oldest student might be 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes where we'll do programs where all of the generations are together. There's sometimes when a parent will come with a child and take a class. And interestingly enough, there were a lot of fathers who knew how to knit and the mothers didn't. And I thought that was just a cool thing.
Yeah.
And the dads would come in because they had a grandma who had taught them, and they had learned, and they were able to help their child with their homework or their home project.
Yeah, I probably could have learned to knit or knitted just by watching. And it's funny because that was gonna be my next question was, are there men that come in?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I even had a designer from New York, from Ralph Lauren, who bought yarn at the yarn shop. That was fun. Yeah, so you never know who's the customer. I'll have a teenage boy and a mother come in. Yeah. And my mind will say, oh, the mother is my customer, but it will be the teenage boy. So you never know.
Well, yeah, that's that's the.
We all love it. Once you get into it and you discover, what becomes available by doing it, that it's fun, it's creative, it gives you this outlet, it's relaxing, it's meditative.
Yeah. What's the most expensive yarn and why?
Kiviot.
What is it?
Kiviot.
And where is it from?
I think.
Where is that from?
That's what I would guess. Buffalo.
So all the yarn's from the United States, or is it from all over the world?
Well, I think, where's the Kiviot coming? A lot from northern Canada, maybe. Yeah. And it's that underbelly, the super, super downy underbelly that's incredibly, incredibly warm.
Mm-hmm. And how much is what does it come in
Well, it's kind of out of my league, but I think it's close to maybe $75 to $125 for a hank, which might be 100. I don't know. Let's say 250 yards.
So that's the tube, if you will. They come in like a tube shape.
Yep, a hank.
That's a hank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and you might need 8 hanks to make a sweater. So if it's $100 a pop, that's an $800 sweater if you're doing a kiviot.
Wow.
Somebody might choose a smaller project that might require 1 or 2 hanks.
An $800 material. $800
for the material. Yeah.
Wow. And you're right. You can get a sweater TJ Maxx that's
it's
17.
less than that.
Yeah, you go, how do they do it? It's just the quality, the craftsmanship, the handmade. I had Chris Mills from Shoveltown Flag. He's a friend and been on a couple times, and I talk to him all the time about his flags, and how you can't put a price on them because it's handmade, it's one of a kind, and you can't just walk into a store and say you can get a flag, but you can't get handmade engraved wooden flag made with love. So you got to pay a little extra, but. Wow, I gotta look that up and see who's selling kiviot sweaters and how much they sell them for. Because how long does a sweater take? 60 hours?
So yeah, 40 to 60. It depends on the thickness of the yarn. So if it's really thick yarn, it goes faster. Fewer stitches per inch.
So how long would it take me? And the average person. I
love these questions.
Not me. Well, I got to be honest with you. I came into this thing and I'm like, I don't know. What am I going to talk about? What do I, what am I going to talk about here? It's like, it's interesting, right? But I'm fascinated now with learning about, what I call the tube. It's a hank, and how many hanks it takes to make a sweater, and how much the most expensive yarn. It's kind of interesting stuff. So my question is, how long would it take the average person? Because I'm way slower than the average person with learning things. But if someone comes in, how long does it take them to be able to do what you're doing right now? Because that's amazing.
3 to 5 hours, probably.
So in 3 to 5 hours, you can start knitting and making.
If I were to teach you,
yeah,
I would teach you just the knitted stitch, and we go round and around.
That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah, within probably 10 minutes, you would have competency to knit around and around.
So 10 minutes. So that would translation for me is about 3 days. So yeah. That's good. So now you're just building how do you connect it? So how do you close it up? Because you got like a headband right now.
Yep, it's like a little headband. So the stitches get mounted on the first row is the cast on.
Yeah.
And then your directive will say join it in the round and be careful not to twist.
Yeah.
So you bring it around and just begin going around in a little circle. Creates a cylinder. It's a little bit like each of the patterns is kind of like a recipe is how I think about it. And there are just so many ways you can make a hat, or just so many ways you could make a sweater or socks. Just so many ways to make chicken.
Yeah.
It's $3.50.
So was that hank 2 different blue colors, or did you?
It even has white in it too. So it's called an ombre because the color goes from dark to light to white.
But that's built in the hank, like you're not using a different.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of cool.
It's very cool. So the yarns today are quite elaborate, and
so you get like a rainbow hank and make a rainbow colored hat.
You could make a rainbow hat. Yep.
Wow.
Just by going round and round.
Wow. And so, who do you go to buy yarn wholesale? Like, are there wholesale yarn people, or do you just go directly to the source of the manufacturer, or how does that all?
I have some local people who I go directly to who either are dyers. So I work with a few people who buy the yarn that's prepared and then they do the coloring process. And I have some people who are local farmers who have sheep and alpaca, and they create their own yarn from their animals.
Yeah.
That being said, I work with a couple of big distributors that are moving yarn in stages literally around the world, which one would wonder about that as far as the industry goes. Like the animal might be originating from Peru and then the wool is harvested from those animals and then may go to Japan.
Yeah.
And a coloring process happens from Japan, and then it comes to the U.S. So there's one fiber artist who's very renowned, and I believe that a fair amount of his yarn is actually from animals in South America. It's kind of interesting watching the movement of yarn.
Yeah, there's an alpaca farm in, was it Rehoboth, or they come to the farmers market every once in a while, and they bring the alpaca.
Yeah.
And I got some of their gloves. They're fantastic and unbelievably warm.
Yeah, and they're at Simpson Springs. That I know that she carries some of them there.
Yeah, socks and gloves. You knit alpaca yarn the same way as you do sheep yarn, or is it? Because it seems
very soft.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It feels a lot different.
It's a different experience. It creates a different fabric than the wool.
Yeah.
So it's very beautiful to work with. So for people who like that sensory experience of something that's so soft that they're creating an object maybe of a cowl up around their neck or cozy sweater.
Yeah. So is there an art to the dyeing? Because you just talked about this gentleman that's renowned and, like, again, foolish me, how it's made shows I love because I have no idea how most things are made. I just envision now a hank of yarn just being dipped into a bucket of dye and pulling it out, and there's probably a lot more to that.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot to it. So I was gifted 7 bags of fleece from a farmer here in Easton because she had made a decision not to go with this particular mill. She didn't know what to do with it. So I thought, oh, sure. And I pulled up in my little station wagon, and she didn't think there was going to be enough room for me to transport it. I wondered, what am I getting into? I thought it was a fleece. So these huge yard bags, my colleague and my daughter spent an entire day, and they cleaned this much off of the top of one. Both women working all day to clean the fleece, of getting all of, the sticks and debris out of it. And then it gets combed and carded. So all the fibers have to line up so that they can be then spun.
Yeah.
And then once they are spun, then they get plied. So it gets, let's say you're using a cotton fiber, can be plied with silk to create a luxury product. And then it gets dyed. And some people, love the dyeing process, and they're all natural dyers, and they're growing goldenrod to create yellow yarn.
Yeah. And
they love that end of the art. Some people are spinners. And for me, I like the part of the alchemy of either I both crochet and I knit. So with 2 sticks and a piece of string, or a hook and a piece of string, I can make all sorts of fun things happen.
Yeah. And you never get bored from it.
Oh, gosh, no. I never get bored. It's hours of endless fun. Like, look, who could get bored with this?
What in the world is that? That's cool.
It's a little Easter egg that transforms into like a little dino crocodile.
Can I see that?
Sure.
Oh.
See, this is not boring. This is very fun.
This is
Here's a little teddy bear.
This is amazing. Now, how long did it take to make this?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it, but probably about, 12, 15 hours.
I would believe it.
The little stuff is very fiddly, and you're on, just...
on a level of detail.
Yeah, 4 little needles.
Wow. Now that is... So, did you just start doing this, or is there like a... I
followed a pattern for that. Topsy-turvy knits or something.
I was going to say, is there like a diagram set up for these things, or do you just kind of...
Well, there are those in the world of yarn who design, and they write these elaborate patterns.
Yeah, that is neat. It's kind of cool listening to you, because the so many people are just into the end product, and that's why we talk about being able to go to a store and get something cheap. And when you listen to like all of the steps and stages that it actually takes to get a raw product to actually make something, there's a lot to it if it's done right. And you want somebody that's renowned, as you said. And I would never think of a renowned yarn maker, but that's
Noro.
yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, who are you? I'm the renowned yarn maker. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I want to shift gears a little bit because part of what we were doing the podcast for was to support our town of Easton, and you've been here for some time, and you could have put your business anywhere when you decided to do it. What makes Easton special for you to have such a passion for putting the community page on and for being a part of the art cultural district and doing all these other things? And I see you support all of the different great causes in town, and then I want to talk about your social media presence because it's pretty cool too. But why Easton?
It's the place I call my home. It's my community.
Yeah.
And I love my town. I don't know, it doesn't go very deep. It's just...
Doesn't need to. It doesn't need to.
It's just, I feel really, really blessed to live here. I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
There's so many little treasures throughout the town that just warms my heart.
That's great. I mean, that's, anyone that's been here for, a length of time, I've been here my whole life. And so when I was born, there were less than 5,000 residents, and it was big pieces of land other than the village district, which has always had, smaller lots of land, but it's the most historical area. And, over the course of time, you've watched it, raise population fivefold and all these different things going around town. And, you hear the people, the long timers that say, well, look at what they're doing here. I mean, why do we need a stoplight, or why do we need a stop sign, or why do we need more of this, or, the roads are too busy, or, all these different things. And, you don't hear that genuine, this is my town, this is my home, and this is why I love it and why I encourage more people to do things. And when the person from California comes to buy yarn from me, I tell them to go to the Farmer's Daughter to have breakfast, or go to Paint, Rust, and Pixie Dust, opposed to having that singular vision of, great, I've got someone here to buy stuff from me. That's pretty cool. And that's probably what makes a big part of this town great, is still having awesome people like you, not just choose to live here, but choose to work here, and invest your life into, this business, which, up until today, I thought you lived upstairs. So that's
maybe someday. Put that on my bucket
well,
list.
I was talking to my fiance Amy about it today, that I was going to do this, and she's like, that place is just so cool. And I didn't realize that she had gone there. I had forgotten, and we were just talking a little bit about it. And I thought to myself, because I wasn't going to ask her, I was like, do they live there? Like, are they? Because it's a house. It looks like a house. It looks like a quaint, comfortable, like you say, making people comfortable. I could envision walking in there and having hot chocolate and slippers waiting, and having a good time and being comfortable. It's just that
or sitting on the porch with a lemonade, watching the world go by.
Yeah.
It's a nice location.
Yeah, no, it's a good spot. It's good. You could do some good people watching. Put a couple of Adirondack chairs out front and just wave to people through the day.
Oh yeah, and through the pandemic, we ended up bringing our beach chairs, and we just sat outside together.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what, this whole thing started because of the pandemic. What was that like? Because you couldn't have people.
Oh my goodness.
You couldn't have people in the store, right?
No. So 2 weeks into it, with support of my little brother, who taught me about how to become a Zoom teacher, I helped probably about 50 of my 75 students to transfer from in-person classes to virtual knitting classes, which is kind of tricky to imagine. Like, how do you teach something that we're making with our hands in that format? But somehow we figured it out together. And I would say, grace to my student population, it allowed us to break even during those years, because I wasn't making any money, but just had the intention of, no, we're supposed to be here. This is supposed to be happening, and we're navigating it together.
That's amazing. Yeah, because I had a hard time. I'm a speaker. I don't need to pay attention to how you're knitting or doing what have you. I just need to look at the body language and see if we're engaged and having a good discussion and if I'm making sense. But for something like hands-on like that, I mean, maybe they don't have the camera right, or that had to be hard. That's amazing.
Yeah, I had invited myself in. Like I'm a techno peasant, but I invited my cell phone into the Zoom meeting, and I had these great big green needles with white yarn so that they could see what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I learned how to do like breakout sessions. So I would research fun knitting videos. Believe it or not, there are all sorts of fun knitting things, and I would teach them skills using inviting YouTube lessons into the room, and it was wonderful.
You have we have one of the blessings that we have in this town is the amount of green space. I mean, you've got a ton of it around. You got Ames Pond, the Ames estate. You've got sheep pasture. I mean, within walking distance, and then you've got obviously Borderlands and a bunch of others. Do you ever do like outdoor relaxation knitting classes?
We've participated in the Harvest Festival at NRT.
Yeah.
And we've been part of the Governor Ames Fun Family Day that happens in June. I don't know, knitting is kind of interesting because, yes, we do sit and knit in public down at the yarn shop or on the porch or in the back parking lot. We've done that. But it's kind of like this alone activity. So in our little groups, we would do that.
Yeah. See, I could picture sitting out in sheep pasture in the field out in past the new awning thing they've got there, where most people don't walk around and just sit there in the silence and listening to the frogs, which is a ton of them now. I've never seen so many frogs in my life. It's a big frog year apparently, but I just picture a group of people just sitting out in their own space, just doing that, or you teaching, outside, and because relaxing, I'm like ready to take a nap, just watching, hammering away at the hat. So it's just kind of neat. No, I was curious. I don't know if that's like a thing, but and it goes right back to your comfort, the hot cocoa and everything. It's like my experience is watching my grandmother sit on the couch, relaxed. And she lived in Cape Breton, Canada, which they had like 2 days of summer. So it was always
cozy,
always cozy and warm. Yeah. Inside, inside. So a couple more things that I wanted to touch on that I'm looking at here.
Excuse me.
You've been in business for 10 years. You've got you're redoing your website, which I'm guessing, you've had that for a while, but you've got, almost 2,500 followers on Facebook.
Isn't that amazing?
How'd you do that? Because I mean, I like getting people to follow and like and everything else. I'm pretty vocal that I'm not a big fan of social media. It's
like a full-time job.
And I fall into a rabbit hole with it. So I'm so glad that Facebook finally got it so that you can have it so that when you log in, it goes right to your business page. It used to have to go to your personal page before you get to your business page. It's like they know what you want, what you don't want to see, and they put that right in front of you, which is like the controversial stuff, the bad posts, the angry people, all the stuff that the infighting and all that seemed like it was always happening right when I logged into my personal page. And since they've switched it now that I only have my business page that I have to go to, it's a lot better. But I don't push probably as hard as I should. But how do you get 2,400 followers? I mean, you're not paying for ads and all that other stuff.
I think maybe $10.
You spent $10 on Facebook ads.
Yeah.
Well, okay. It's a lot. That's a lot less than I spent trying when I first started, because that was what I was told I needed to do. So
I don't know. I engaged the community. I learned something about see if you can post in a way where they interact with you and participate. So sometimes I'll ask a question. Sometimes it's a little personal, so that they may know of a little journey that's happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's me going through documenting a project. Sometimes it's linking fun ideas that other people are doing or what the students are doing. So there's kind of a variety of different approaches that I have in the posts. And I would say my distributors have helped as well, that sometimes they will boost posts for me.
Yeah. You have a ton. I mean, you just have like everyone going back, like all of your reviews, like love every square inch, love this. It's like amazing, you know, the love that you're getting, which means you're obviously giving love, and it's not, you're doing it from a social media perspective, the non-traditional way, but it's truly the human traditional way, which is just
connecting.
Yeah, just connecting with people and giving them what they want, and doing the right things, and putting, again, you've got, promoting the Sheep Pastures Spring Farm Festival. You're supporting the Love for Lindley Foundation, which is a young girl that passed away way too soon a couple of years ago. That you're promoting a whole bunch of stuff, and then you're showing some educational. It's pretty neat. I just clicked follow, so I'm on number what I don't. It doesn't say. Just follow. I'm following and liking. So now I'm going to be keeping up with your stuff. So where else are you? Where can people find you? Where are you? Are you on Insta? Do you do Instagram? Do you do any other social media? Or is it just Facebook?
Truthfully, probably just Facebook.
Okay.
Truthfully.
Okay.
I have what's called a Ravelry group, which is an online knitting and crochet community. Mm-hmm. But I haven't been active in maintaining that. And I have an Instagram account, but I forget how to log back into it. So dealing with, as I said earlier, I'm a little like a techno peasant.
Yeah, me too.
And I just kind of figure it out when I figure it out, and it's on my list that, oh yeah, you should get that going. Yeah. But I don't spend a whole lot of time even watching how I'm doing with my following. It's a task that I know I need to keep engaged, because some of my customers communicate to me in that format. Yeah. So I just try to stay present to it. And always in the back of my mind, I have this thought like, oh, I should be doing more. I should be better. But I'm just one person. And I have a wonderful team of people working with me. Mm-hmm. But kind of my tentacles can only go in just so many directions at any one given time. So I just quiet my mind. It's like, no, it's good. Like, it's coming along. Things are going in a good direction. We're doing good. Working well as a team. Mm-hmm.
Well, now you can put your Facebook post, you can share it to Instagram without having to log in. I just found that out because I hadn't heard that term before, but I'm a flying techno peasant with you. So
they're interconnected.
Pheasant. Flying along. Just and you got a new website coming up. People will be able to order online, so you're gonna have your first e-commerce experience. Yeah.
It's better than like the Chinese takeout bags that we were doing through the pandemic, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can pick up your ball of yarn.
Yeah. Well, probably
on the honor code, like people, I just write their name on it, and on the honor code, no one swipes somebody else's bag.
Well, the good news is that the shipping's not going to be expensive because yarn's light. That's been the biggest challenge with our merchandise is our shipping fees have just gone, it's just crazy. And I don't think they're going to go back down, which is, I got to get lighter stuff. Maybe I'll start selling BeAuSm yarn.
There you go.
That would be something, right? Yeah. To make a yarn BeAuSm something. So, well, I think I've covered a lot. I think I want to have you on again someday down the road.
Update.
Maybe. Well, no, I think we need to do like a knitting challenge. Like, how long does it really take Josh to learn how to knit a hat?
Oh, there you go.
And do a day and just see if I have the actual patience and my ADD doesn't kick in, and all of a sudden I'm knitting something completely different, like a scarf. Making a hat, but it turns out to be a scarf. That would be right in my wheelhouse of things. But am I missing anything? Is there anything people need to? Any other ways to reach out and connect with you? What is the phone number to reach you at?
774-269-6899.
Yeah, and you're open.
And we're Wednesday to Saturday, so long hours Wednesday and Thursday from 10 to 7, and then Friday we open at 10, close at 4:30, and Saturday it's 10 to 2.
So Wednesday and Thursday are the big yarn sale times. That's when everybody wants to get their
or
yarn.
Saturday, like people just it's like going out and getting their milk.
Yeah.
When the storms happen, get their loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Their milk and their storm knitting.
Yeah, what's interesting when we had the was it the blue laws? Is that what they called them? When you couldn't be open on Sundays and you know, couldn't be open on certain holidays and all that.
Mm-hmm.
People like planned out their time to go to the stores during those times. Now if they're open all the time, it's like it's at their convenience, and it's like, I think we need to go back to the blue laws where you just open, you know, a certain amount of time, and if it's that important, people do it. Mm-hmm. Being open all the time is kind of tough. I got my first job at Shaw's when they just opened. That's aging. You were, let's see, you've been here how long?
10 years.
You've been, you know, how long have you been in Easton?
34.
34. Yeah. So Shaw's was just probably getting open.
Mm-hmm.
Before Shaw's, Cumberland Farms was in front of it. That was the grocery store in the town, which was tiny, which is where the Dunkin' Donuts and the pizza place is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to work there and on my 16th birthday, you know, early 90s. And they just started to be open on Sundays, but they had to pay us time and a half. Like that was kind of the give and take. And I can remember being like, oh, this is cool. I'll work Sunday for time and a half. And I'm, you know, as I get older, I'm like, people should be closed on Sundays. People should spend more time with, you know, family and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's like, I screwed up. I'm a big fan of All Town gas station to get, they do like the charcuterie boards. I always say it wrong. I think I said it kind of right there, but
that sounded good.
They make really good charcuterie boards. They make great breakfast sandwiches. They make great everything. Like everything that they have there is fantastic. I tell people, I'm like, I go to the gas station and get my breakfast sandwiches, and they don't realize that it's like fresh food and really good stuff. And I ordered it for one of the holidays. It might have been Christmas. It was terrible. This was a terrible mistake. I purposely ordered it to be picked up. I think it was Christmas Eve. I think I messed up that one. And I purposely ordered to have it picked up the night before Christmas Eve. And they called me on Christmas Eve and like, hey, did you want your charcuterie board? I'm like, totally forgot. I mean, I paid for it. It wasn't like I had already paid for it. They just don't want it to go to waste. And I said, I purposely set myself up to not be there on Christmas Eve or Christmas and had it for the night before because I didn't want to come here and see you. Like, I didn't want to see that you guys were working because that just wasn't fun. And because it's tough. You know, there's this unrealistic expectation that everything should be open all the time at our convenience. And it's like people have to work there. Right?
Yeah.
So it's tough. Yeah. So I think it's great that you have the reduced schedule and you stay busy and people come in. And
yeah, we're figuring it out. I mean, it was one of the results of the pandemic where I ended up closing on Monday and Tuesday just because of logistics and staffing. And then I didn't go back to that schedule. Yeah. Just took care of all of us to have it be part-time.
It's hard to get takeout on Mondays. Restaurants, like a lot of restaurants are closed on Mondays right now.
And museums.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that real? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're open on the weekends. Mondays closed.
The Children's Museum behind you?
A lot of them. Huh. Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to the Children's Museum for the first time since before COVID.
Really? Got to go to that upstairs room with the floor mat with all the lights.
Is it new?
Nope.
I get very fun. I get mesmerized by the ball drop downstairs and I could stay there for a couple hours and just watch the thing. And
I like the cylinder with the fabric, of course. You put the clean what are they? Little pieces, squares of fabric, and the wind blows it up a tube, and then they float out into the room. Yeah,
I saw that. That might be it too. Mm-hmm. Might have my museums mixed up. The Children's Museum, for anyone that's not familiar with Easton, is in an old firehouse, right? Mm-hmm. It's an old firehouse, and they got a great property. They used to have a beer night, or they used to have some fundraiser there that they had local brewers and things, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just remembering.
Yeah, different... they host the. Don't they host the Father's Day race?
They do that too. Mm-hmm. As you can see, I don't do much racing. Yeah. Other than in my car.
I run the width.
Yeah.
Not the length of the 5K.
Well, I got to tell you, this was a lot of fun. I hope it was a lot of fun for you. You were a little nervous in the beginning, but we got that out of the way. I told you I was going to read your stuff, and we're going to have fun. And this was fun. I great learning experience for me, and I think everybody that listens to this. That started out with like, what are we going to talk about here? It's like, now you know, if you buy yarn, you buy it by the hank, and you don't buy it by just anywhere. You got to go to a specialty store, and you can learn if you can learn things, you can learn in 10 minutes, and if you can't, you're in my 5 to 6 day range. And now I've got a challenge that maybe I'll learn see how long it takes me to learn to knit and do an episode 2 down the road at some point. But this was great. And we know how to get a hold of you. Your website is AuntieZaza.com, and it's AUNTIEZAZA.
That's nice.
Last question, where did Zaza come from? Was that part of your
That's
name?
my name.
That is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, is that your...
My nickname.
Your nickname?
Yeah.
I was going to say.
I got it in my 20s when I was staying with my cousin south of Paris.
Yeah.
And her friend said, Elizabeth, that name is too long. We're going to call you Zaza.
Yeah.
So.
And it stuck.
It stuck. It's what my nieces and nephews call me.
That's cool.
Yeah, when I told them we were opening the yarn shop, they said, Auntie Zaza's yarn shop. That sounds great. And there was the name.
Yeah, Auntie Zaza's. So for those of you that come to downtown Easton on Main Street, do not pass go. You need to stop in, say hello, get comfortable, relax, learn a little bit about yarn, maybe take a class. But if nothing else, have some fun with Auntie Zaza and enjoy yourself. And I thank you again for making some time here today. And I got to thank my guy Adam, who's wearing a BeAuSm shirt. He's not on camera. We figure out how to get the camera on you, man. Got to get the camera on you. Adam is sporting his BeAuSm shirt in the background, hanging out. He's the guy that gets it all done here at the ECAT studio. I got to thank. I'm going to thank every episode. These guys just are amazing. Support your local Easton, or not just Easton, but your local community access channels. Watch them, support them, give them content if they ask for it, because they're doing some great stuff and they're building a kind of a what do they call it? You take the box and you put it in the can't open the box for a number of years. Why am I drawing a blank? Time capsule. Mm-hmm. They're building it. They've got an Easton time capsule.
That's awesome.
They've got all this video content for all the years that they've been around, and they can pull it out at any given point in time. I was talking about Tuesday night trivia, where they used to they used to have to call in because you couldn't do Google searches in the 80s. Like, I bet they got tons of videos of that. Like, that's what life was like in Easton in the 80s. Pretty cool. So thanks to these guys for putting it all together. That'll do it for another episode here. I'm excited. I've kind of confirmed my first client for BeAuSm, who actually didn't. I couldn't charge him because I wasn't an actual business yet. But Mike Haynes of the Haynes Group. Now I'm calling him out because it's forcing him to have to come on the microphone with me. But childhood friend, and we worked together for a period of time. And he's got a successful construction company. We're going to talk about the beginning of BeAuSm and some of that stuff. So hopefully we'll have that for you next week. In the meantime, if you like us, please give us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. That helps us with getting our ratings up. We're currently in the top, I think, 2.5%. I think we crossed the 0.5% mark last month, and we're in the top 2.5%, or possibly still 3%, but closing in on 2.5% of all podcasts. And there's 3.6 million channels out there, so to be in the top single-digit percent of anything is pretty good. Follow us on YouTube. Check us out on social media. We're everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Twitter's not as active. I got to get to work on that. I got to learn a little bit more about that, and LinkedIn. And in the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome. Have a great day.
Come to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.